So I have the Tesla chart pulled up on the weekly chart. And what we are seeing right now is a holding of support. And I've been showing these angles for a long time now. And what we can really see is it was maintaining this angle for a long time. All day today, basically, it was down in that price range around like the 215 to 216 zone, and now it's rebounding a little bit. And like I've said many times, it's hit this angle numerous times, even way up here. It hit it many times as well. And what we can see is it's trying to flip it to support, right? And this is not really a trend line. This is an angle based off of the scale of this chart. So we need to understand that it's a little bit different and it's more objective and less subjective, right? So this is a good development. And let's go to the lower time frames just to see what's going on here. Yeah, let's go here first. So let's just look at the 15-minute chart just to see what's going on with Tesla. Yeah, and on the 15-minute chart, it's already starting to recover and get back above the conversion line here. So that's a good development. What about the hour chart? Yeah, back above the baseline. That's also a good development. 4-hour chart. Yeah, 4-hour chart, it held that conversion line as a support. So it looks like a lot of the pain is over and it was just a scare in the morning for Tesla here. And back on the daily chart here, we can just see it's stuck in a range, right? This is that Fibonacci level, the 382, the 221.26. So essentially, we know where support is for Tesla. It's right there so far. And we know where resistance is so far. It's that 382, right? At 221. And then there's even more resistance up here around 225. And essentially, that is the range, right? This is stuck in a tight range. So we'll see how today closes. I'm not too sure if that's going to close above these levels or below. But the most important thing, in my opinion, is this angle sloping down. As long as this holds, that is great. But what I would really like to see is on this chart here as well. I would love to see it close back above that arc right there. And what would be even better is closing above that angle, but I don't think that'll happen. That would be a lot of buying into the close, right? Because that blue angle sits around 228, 229. So we'll see if it can get up there, but I would at least like to see a close above this orange arc, right? That would be great. So let's go take a look at other things now. Let's go look at IWM. Let's go to this chart here. So IWM, we can see that it is on the daily chart. That's my 3.618 Fibonacci, right? This is from, if you guys remember, we'll go on the weekly chart here real quick. Let me take off the Ichimoku, make everything clear. So that 382 Fibonacci is pulled from the August 2008 high down to the March 2009 low, right? And we can see, if I just take off this again, you can see how accurate these Fibonacci levels have been throughout time. And that 268 held as support. And what we see right now is a break above that 3.618. So that's a really good development. So essentially, what we can see is there's a possibility for this weekly candle to close above resistance for the IWM, which is really, really positive, right? And if we go to the daily chart here, you can see that it's been holding. Let's go right here. It's been holding that 3.618 Fibonacci level right there throughout the day, right? It opened above it and it's holding throughout the day. So that's a really positive development for today. And it looks like it's going to probably continue and close above that resistance. So this is a very good thing. And on a weekly close, that's even better, right? So What that means really is for the IWM to continue higher up to this top arc, to the 238, and eventually to that full extension from that financial crisis low, right? Which would be around 253. So that is a very good thing for the future for IWM, which also means it could be good for growth stocks and crypto as well. So let's look at ARKK right here. And let's go to this chart right here for ARKK. Yeah, here we go. And if we put on the Ichimoku here for ARKK, we can see that the conversion line sits around 467, and right now prices at 45.67, and right now prices at 45.82, right? So this has a possibility of just being a nice wick down to test the bottom of the cloud, and then possibly close the week above there. But the week is not over yet. It could continue higher and higher and close above the cloud again. We don't know, right? So we'll keep an eye on this, but this is positive development for ARK and also a lot of the growth stocks within ARK as well. And let's take a look at NVDA because this is a really good development for NVDA here. NVDA, this weekly candle is super bullish now because it's closing back above my ARK. Well, it's not closing yet, but has the potential to close above the ARK, above the conversion line, above the baseline, and back within the cloud too. So this is a really good thing. And if we notice something right here, we zoom in, like look at what's happening. The cloud is turning green right here, right? Right? Or it was turning green, but now it's turning red a little bit. So we'll keep an eye on this in the future developments, right? So it was green a little bit and has a possibility to continue green, right? So that is a good thing for the future. And what I really see going to happen is price will continue higher and higher, close to the orange level, to the top of the cloud, as long as this kind of holds as support, right? Before it didn't really hold as support, but now it looks like it has the possibility to hold as support to continue higher. So this has the potential to be a very, very nice weekly candle close for NVDA right here. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Let's look at NVIDIA. So NVIDIA, it's getting rejected by the conversion line. This is why we see that price is going lower, but we had a liquidity scare yesterday to just go back and test support. And that's essentially all it did, is just go back to this bottom arc here, wick through that 45-degree angle, and support was found, right? So could things go lower to that baseline down there? Yeah, that's a possibility, right? And even more possible would be testing that blue level right there, which would be a previous all-time high. But so far, this zone held really well, so we're not going to consider the lower levels yet until this breaks, if that breaks, right? So we'll keep an eye on that. But if this holds, I can see price continuing higher to that next level, which sits around 144 and beyond, right? So NVIDIA still looks fine. It just a little bit, it was a little bit overextended, right? So now it's just cooling off a little bit while the rotation into the IWM and other stocks is happening right now, right? Let's look at Tesla again. Oh yeah, nice. It's getting back above that conversion line, which is at 219.21. So that's kind of the level I really wanted to see. Best case scenario would closing back above that 382 at 221.26, and even better would be closing back above this level here, that orange arc around, yeah, around the same price, 221, 222. But even the best case scenario would be closing back above that blue angle, which would be 229. So we'll keep an eye on it. And you know, I was really bullish down here this morning when it was at 215. I'm like, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. And right now it's rebounding, so that's good. It's a real good thing. And let's see what else we're gonna look at. I think somebody wanted to look at Apple. Let's see Apple here. We'll go to this screen of Apple. So Apple is holding the conversion line as support. Like, it was a little bit extended here, so nothing too out of the ordinary, right? It hasn't even broken through that conversion line. That's how far extended it was on a weekly close. So this weekly candle looks like it's still gonna close pretty positively, but it's basically in a range, right? There's some resistance up here, and then there's some support down here. If that support breaks, it could go back to the baseline around $200, but we don't need to consider that until this conversion line breaks. So Apple is looking fine, right? No need to worry about Apple at all. Let's see here. Let's go to my log scale chart here of MicroStrategy. Let's see how that's playing out. Yeah, that was a perfect wick for MicroStrategy, right? Perfect wick down. And what's that red line? That red line is from the previous all-time high back in the dot-com crisis, right? And the 2002 low, right? That's that 886. And that was a perfect wick from that 886 down there. And now that candle's looking really good. And this was a perfect support zone, right? Perfect support zone. If you guys subscribe to my Telegram, you guys could see that I bought some at 1,215 here just because that was a great support. And essentially after that, it just went up to this level, and now it's going to be going to this arc next is my feeling, and that sits around 2,300. And it just needs to break above these levels, especially this wick right here, this wick that got up to 19.99 and 99 cents, right? That was the top back in March. Once it starts getting above there, then it's going to go there, and then eventually back to the all-time highs. And the all-time highs does sit around 33.68. So that is going to be the next target once it breaks above this 2,000 level, right? So 2,000, then maybe like 2,300, and then the 33.68. So MicroStrategy is looking really bullish for the future, right? It's looking amazing here. So any kind of weakness back to that 886 would be a great opportunity, but I'm not sure if that'll come. I guess it all depends on Bitcoin as well, right? So we'll see what happens there. And let's see, speaking of Bitcoin, let's go check it out. Yeah, so here's Bitcoin here, same thing, in nice little wick. And my video that I made a couple days ago was saying that it could just retrace down to these levels here. And the level I really mentioned was this Ichimoku, the conversion line here, which sits around 62,750. And that was my target for a retest of support. And that was almost hit, right? The candle got to 63,400 and then it bounced, right? So this candle is looking really good. There's still about 2.5 days left for the weekly candle close for Bitcoin though. So we'll see. But the most important thing for Bitcoin is it held this support level. And I can see things continuing higher and higher for Bitcoin. But if we go back to my Bitcoin linear scale chart right here, we can see that the resistance of this blue angle is still going to be there, right? It's been resistance the whole time. So we need to understand that this angle needs to get broken before it goes higher. So this angle kind of sits around here, maybe around 71,200, 71.3, around that area. And once that breaks out, then I think it'll be a clear shot to the previous all-time high up here, which is around 73,790. And once that breaks, then it's gonna go directly up to the 100,000s, I think, pretty quickly, because there really is no resistance after that on linear scale. The next resistance straight up from here would be like 116, right? If it goes a little bit more in time, it could be 114, 113, 112, whatever. But ultimately, the blue level will be the next major resistance, which is around 123, 123,000 for Bitcoin. So I see that coming, but it's still in a range. So I'm not too excited yet, even though there is excitement in the crypto market. It's just in a range, right? The support is down here. The resistance is up here. It's a little bit closer to resistance than it is support. So as you all know, I'm more bullish at support than I am at resistance, right? So the closer it gets to resistance, I'm a little bit more cautious, right? Because I want to see it break out maybe successfully backtest it, and then after that backtest, then I think it'll be time to go. So I believe Bitcoin is getting ready to do that, but it's still not broken the resistance yet. So it's not exactly time to get excited. But if we look in the direction of the miners, we can probably get more indication if things are going to break out or not, right? So if we go to maybe CLSK here, yeah, CLSK is kind of trying to get back above that conversion line, but it failed, right? It's also getting kind of rejected by my angle here too. So it's also still in a range, and this is not ready to break out yet either. So we need to keep an eye on that. And if we go to Mara here, same situation. It tested support perfectly here, but it's kind of under the conversion line, my angle, and the baseline up here. So it's not really ready to break out yet either. Looking at Riot here. Yeah, it's not really ready to break out, but it is holding support of the conversion line, but there's a lot of resistance above, right? And Cypher, really, same situation. It's trying to close above this conversion line at 578, but it's not there yet, and it still has the resistance of my angle right up here as well. So it's not ready to break out yet. Iron, it got rejected by a lot of things up here, and now it's holding the baseline kind of as support. So it looks like it could be near a bottom here, right? Worst case, it could come back and test this demand zone down here. So we'll keep an eye on that. Bitfarms, yeah, I mean, it's trying to maintain here. It did hold this as support, but I would like to see it close above that 272 for a continuation. And Bit Digital, yeah, perfect retest of support here. So it is above the conversion and the baseline there. So that's a positive, right? So we'll keep an eye on that. And Wolf, yeah, Wolf is looking like it's going towards support right now. So the moral of the story is the miners are also showing that things are kind of like at support or stuck in a range as well, which is kind of the same thing what Bitcoin is doing. So I don't think these are really going to explode and break out higher until Bitcoin also does that as well. So we'll keep an eye on those. Let's look at Palantir. Palantir, it held that 50% level from the all-time high perfectly. It was like a perfect hit, right? 250 or 25.48, and it went down to 25.42. So that was a perfect hit of support and the best place you could buy, right? And now it's going back up towards the midpoint of support and resistance, right? But since this support held, we could just see it range a little bit until it's ready to break up towards the 61.8% Fibonacci around $30. So nothing bearish about this chart either. It looks fantastic, right? Let's see, Robinhood. Yeah, so I have all my angles here pulled up, but it got rejected up here. I was thinking this would hold as some kind of support, but it didn't so far. So now it looks like it's going to close below this conversion line, which kind of leaves a little bit lower levels for Robinhood. So I think I was really interested up here at 2250, but since it's not holding, the next place of interest would be this angle here, probably around 1920 or so, maybe a little bit lower. So we'll be patient on this one since it got rejected up here. So just a little bit more patience there. And let's see here. Let's look at Tesla 220. Yeah, nice. This is the level, guys. 221.26. That's what I really want to close above. So we'll keep an eye on that number. But again, going back to this chart, look how perfect that angle was when I was bullish this morning, right? Always be bullish at support, especially on a trend change like this. This is a huge trend change. Resistance, 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 breakout, backtest of a previous resistance, now flipped to support. This is why you don't want to be bearish at support, right? Let's see. SMCI. Let's go to this chart for SMCI. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it lost the conversion and baseline. I was thinking it's going to hold this level, but it did not. So I'm just going to be patient with this one as it's probably going to drift closer and closer to the cloud before price can go higher. I mean, it had a gigantic move up, got rejected up here. So it just got to be patient for a few more weeks or months before price consolidates and then is able to move higher again. But this chart still very bullish, and anything I think in the low 600s could, or mid to low 600s would be a great entry for SMCI here. It looks really good for the future. Let's see what else do we got here. Let's look at Google. So Google, it was a clear rejection right up here. Right. I was telling my subscribers many times when it was up here that this is a really big resistance, and yeah, it's not a good thing to be a buyer up here. And sure enough, price got rejected and it came back down to the 161s, or sorry, that's the baseline 161, but it came down to 164. So I still think there could be a little bit more pain for Google, and I would be interested maybe in this area around 161. Yeah, it looks okay. But we know where support should be, and we saw exactly where resistance was. So this is not a surprise what happened, in my opinion, at all. Amazon. Yeah, same kind of situation. It got rejected up here, almost got to the arcs up here, but now it's holding support at the baseline. So that's something I think Google's going to do, get to that baseline, which is exactly what Amazon did. So that is basically it already hit support, and it's in a tight range now. That's support, that is resistance up here, and it's just in a range, right? Let's see here. Let's look at Coinbase. Yeah, another perfect retest of the 50% level at 230. And then we see the resistance of this 45-degree angle, right? So big range for this weekly candle. All the way up here, 270, all the way down here at the low was what, 226? Yeah. And the conversion line sits at 240.13. So if this weekly candle closes above that, then that could be good for a continuation higher up towards this 618, right? So this chart is looking pretty good. Let's see here. What else we got? Let's look at the Qs. Yeah, the QQQ, it hit support perfectly too of the baseline. So this is still just in a range. We know where resistance is going to be that conversion line up here at 473 and support down here. So it's right in the middle. And if this support breaks, it's going to go back and retest this arc right here at 440 or so. And then that could be the new support zone for price to continue higher, right? So we'll keep an eye on this level first. But anybody that's saying there's going to be a market crash, I don't see that as a situation, right? As a scenario, just because when I zoom out here on my GAN chart, we can just see how symmetrical it really has been, right? Like during the COVID crash, right? It hit a resistance here, and then it crashed down back to retest the orange level wick below, and then it just followed up nicely. And like the last thing we saw was this blue level, right? Right here. And it held that 45-degree angle perfectly. And now price is just working its way higher, right? So it would be perfectly normal to retest this top arc because it used to be resistance right here, right? So it would be normal to go down to 440. And while people are scared and screaming, "Oh my God, we're going to a bear market," that would be a normal situation to continue back up to this 530 zone, right? To the next level, right? If we look at the orange level hit perfectly, the blue level hit perfectly, and now price is on this top side of the arc, so the green level should get hit perfectly before there's any kind of major correction or anything, right? I think that is going to be the target, but we could go lower first, so we need to keep our eyes out on that, right? But if that happens, I think money might just rotate into small cap still, right? Because the QQQ is down 2.3% for the week, right? And if we go to the IWM, it's up 3% for the week. So we could see just a continued rotation from the tech stocks into the IWM and possibly even into growth as well, right? So I don't think there's anything to worry about here. It looks like everything is normal and fine. Um, it's just people on YouTube or X are screaming doomsday scenarios already just because of that massive sell-off that we had a couple days ago. So I don't think there's anything to worry about. Let's look at the Dow Jones though. It's up 700 points right now. It's ridiculous, right? And I did the GAN on the monthly chart here. So there's 5 days left in the month of the Dow, right? And this is resistance right here. And look what the Dow is doing, right? It's breaking above resistance with a bullish engulfing candle. So is that a bearish scenario? No, that's not a bearish scenario at all. So we'll see how this month closes in 5 days, 6 days. And if that does close above this angle or this arc, then that leaves the next level possible, which is at 48,000, right? And we see how perfect that blue level hit, right? If we go back down in time, the orange level was hit perfectly too, even back tested successfully. So was the blue, right? Which means if it clears this top arc, it's going to go to 48,000. So there's really this whole doomsday scenario is just doesn't make any sense. Unless the month closes really negative, right? If like next week there's just some massive sell-off and it closes below this arc, then it could come back and retest levels, right? But so far, this huge 700 point Dow gain is just looking really bullish. Really bullish. Like it's a 4% monthly candle so far. That's pretty impressive for the Dow, right? And the last time we saw a big monthly candle was like really right here, where it was a 13%, and right here, which was an 8%. And right now, the month's not over. It just could continue higher and higher as well. And that would be even more and more bullish for the Dow Jones, right? So yeah, there's really nothing bearish at all. And even the SPX, let's look at that. That one's a little bit nervous, right? It's at resistance right now. It already wicked through it at the beginning of the week or last week, but this is a monthly candle, right? So we're not done with the month yet. It still could do what the Dow is doing and come back up and close above, right? But if it doesn't, then we could expect a retest of some lower levels, right? And a backtest of this blue zone, it would be fine, which is 4,800, 4,830, right? 4,822, somewhere around there. But would it get there? Maybe not. If we put on the Ichimoku, we can see that the conversion line sits at 49.33. So we'll see what happens with this monthly close. But just know that the SPX is at resistance while the Dow is breaking resistance and the IWM is also breaking resistance. And all while the QQQ is holding a support, right? It's holding a support of the baseline right here. So yeah, looks like a rotation is definitely happening into small caps and into some growth as well. Let's look at Tesla again. Yeah, right around that conversion line. So I'm looking for a positive close here of maybe above the 221.26, but we'll see, right? Even above the top of the cloud would be nice too, 225, 226. So we'll keep an eye on that. What else we got here? Let's look at Square. So yeah, Square is breaking the bottom of the cloud, but is it still that worrisome? If I look on the monthly Ichimoku, I see some interesting developments here. And the interesting thing is the baseline, or sorry, the orange baseline here and the conversion line, they are getting really close, right? They are converging a little bit. So as the months go on, eventually I think price will get on top of these, which will then be a very bullish scenario, right? A bullish scenario for price to continue higher. And I think it's just going to follow what ARK is doing. Let's go back to that ARK chart. It's above both, right? It's above the baseline and it's above the conversion line. And even though there's a long wick on this monthly candle, this is a very bullish thing. And I've mentioned this before in my video. Like the last time that happened was up here, where it was above both. This was June of 2021, right? More than 3 years ago. So a 3-year bear market. Now it's on the top side of both. There's still 5 days left, so maybe it could close below again. We don't know, right? But if this continues the way it's continuing and closes above, then that's just going to lead to the expansion of these charts, right? Growth stocks are going to start going up. Then the next level here sits at $51, and then after that, it's clear to go to, the top of this range, right? The 60s and the 70s and stuff like that. So we'll wait and see how the rest of this month closes, but this is a very, very, very bullish development that ARK is experiencing right now, which is more proof that there could be a rotation from the big cap into growth and into small caps, right? So this is a very good development, and I'm going to keep my eye closely on this because this is definitely nothing to worry about. So people screaming that bearish narrative, this is more proof that this is not really that bearish at all. And plus, it just keeps making higher lows too, right? From that bottom here in December of 2022. So it's looking really good, right? Let's do one final glance at everything. Yeah, Tesla back at 220. Let's see. Oh, let's look at Meta just because there was some pain. But look at the monthly chart here. It's so bullish on the monthly chart. It didn't even backtest the conversion line here. And it's even holding that orange level. Yeah. And yeah, it just went back down to the baseline and that orange level. So that's just a perfect backtest of support. Really nothing to worry about here for Meta, right? But we'll keep an eye on this 462 level. If that does break, then there's a possibility to come back down to the 420s. But even going back down to the 420s would still be a higher low from here. This low was 414, right? So this is still higher highs, higher lows, right? This market structure is really, really good and nothing to fear yet. And even there's even more support with this top of the cloud right here as well, right? Yeah. Yeah, everything's looking all right. The miner's doing okay. What's Bitcoin at now? Yeah, 67.6. Looks really good. Let's look at XRP. I know some of you like XRP. I love XRP. But my favorite chart to use on XRP is this one right here. Where is my XRP? Yeah, let's just take off we can use the Ichimoku first. So it's back within the cloud, so that's good. And it's back above the conversion and baseline. So this is a great development. But essentially what I love about this chart is how symmetrical it has been, right? Like, look at that. I'll just take off the Fibonacci real quick. Yeah, I mean, it's right in between these arcs. And once again, once it breaks above this top arc, then I think it'll be set free. It'll be good to go. And this orange level held support for so long, right? So long. Looks gorgeous. And if we put back on the Fibonacci, where I took it from the 2013 high down to the 2014 low, you can see how perfect that 1.618 Fibonacci held as support right there, which coincided with my bottom arc too. So that really means what's going to happen, guys, is this arc is going to get flipped to support one day, and then $3 is going to be a magnet, right? The 2.272, which was rejected last time, right? So that's going to be a magnet for price. And then it's not going to stop there because the next set of arcs do sit around here, maybe around the 2.618, around $8, $9, or maybe if it goes further in time, $7, $6, right? And then since this orange level did hit, there really is a possibility mathematically to get up to this $29 level, right? $28, $29 level. So we'll keep an eye on this chart, but this is looking really bullish for the future. No worries here. And crypto in general is looking more and more bullish, right? All right, so I think that's all we'll do for the live stream. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on Tesla. So I'd love to see it close back above that 220 level, 221 for Tesla. Let's go back to my chart. Yeah, 221.26. I would love that. But more importantly, I would love to see a weekly candle close above this bottom arc, which currently sits around that 222 level as well. And maybe even if we get a really bullish close, it could close back above this 228 level too. So we'll keep an eye on that, guys. But thank you for tuning in and hope you enjoyed.